What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Here we use information from celestial bodies to help us gain a better understanding of our favorite celebrities, world events, but most importantly, our damn selves. I am your host, okay, Miss Captain in charge of this astro shit, Megan. And today I'm coming to you with another celebrity natal chart reading, this time on Miss Lizzo. And technically, this would be a revisited, okay? So, as I'm sure you may know, unless you've been hiding under a rock somewhere, Lizzo is in hot water after some of her former employees have basically sued her, right? They're pressing some type of, they're not criminal charges, but she's being sued for like being abusive, right? Or abusing her power and treating these former employees horribly. I don't know all of the details, so y'all gonna have to look into that yourselves, but that's the gist of it. And people were able to get their hands on some of the details, some of the paperwork involving the lawsuit. That's the word that I'm looking for. A lawsuit, which is very fitting with transit and Libra on the South Node. Y'all know Libra deals with litigation. It deals with legalities, lawsuits, being sued, attorneys, things like that. So, like I was saying on Patreon, if you ain't living right, you might need to be very careful. Okay, tread very careful, especially if you are one of the Libra North-South Node girlies, or if it is in an angular house. And those will be the houses naturally ruled by cardinal signs: the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, the 10th house. Now, in Lizzo's case, she has transiting South Node in her second house. And because your second house deals with your money, quite literally, your resources, your wealth, right? Your assets, so to speak. I could absolutely see a reality where she is going to have to protect that, hence that Aries North Node, okay? Or, you know, that could explain the lawsuit, right? So there's that. Not to mention, Libra is naturally, it rules the 7th house, which once again would be one of those angular houses. So having that in the second house is, you know, just in combination with transit and South Node in Libra, just is whooping her ass. I ain't even gonna hold you. It's beating her ass. All right. And so this is gonna be something, y'all. So hopping right off into the natal chart itself, right? One of the first things that I noticed was that Lizzo is a Virgo moon and South Node. So she has this Virgo moon, South Node conjunction in the first house. During my previous reading, I definitely used this placement here to describe her veganism. I think she's a vegan, right? Virgo deals with diet. So somebody who, even despite her size, y'all, she could be somebody who tends to diet a lot. And I mean, if you don't really understand the nature of disorders and disordered eating, which is also very commonly associated with the moon in Virgo, especially with it being in the first house. You know, the moon deals with our stomach, Virgo deals with our intestines, but it also deals with like the, you know, the neurotic energy that could cause a person to even develop certain type of eating disorders, because a lot of it is control based, right? And certain things like that over time, how that could be very detrimental. You know, a lot of people who have disordered eating, most people would think of anorexia and the ones that leave you looking very emaciated and skinny, but you could have other eating disorders that, you know, like binge eating disorder, which actually technically with her Taurus sun opposing Pluto in Scorpio, you know, that could be very indicative of her binge eating and like, you know, binging and purging, taking laxatives, or don't make herself throw up, you know, or whatever the case may be. But that Virgo moon and South Node is a very critical component of that, especially in her first house, because the first house deals with our physical body, right? Even how we view ourselves to a certain extent. So a lot of times one's focus with this placement is going to be on diet, your dietary habits, right? The certain types of foods you eat, and for better or for worse. But it could also deal with the person who receives a lot of criticism, when it comes to their body. The moon could also deal with the public to a certain extent. And with Cancer in the 11th house, maybe a person who's bullied over their body and the way that they look. And these are people who can take these things very personally. The moon internalizes. And so, not to, repeat myself or sound like a broken record or whatever, but that's what I pointed out in the first video. However, as it pertains to this situation, this South Node could also play a very key component in these allegations, because Virgo also deals with subordinates. It deals with the help, quite literally, right? Helpers, which is why it's commonly associated with interns, right? Virgo energy is very much your assistants, right? People who are even in the background who help you out. And with the moon in Virgo, a lot of times these are people who could treat or refer to, the people who work for them as family, which y'all know. All my girlies, the girlies and guys know, right? If you done been around and had a couple jobs and are experienced and seasoned professionally, the minute an employer tells you that the workplace is like a family, take up your portfolio, slam that motherfucker shut, and go just head out to the parking lot for me. Okay? Because what they are not going to tell you is that it's the most dysfunctional family that you've ever been a part of in your fucking life. And probably the worst job that you'll ever have. Okay? And that it'll give you PTSD for the next 18 months. Ask me how I know. Virgo moon here. Reporting for duty. Ask me how I know. But anyway, I digress. I said that to say that this could possibly be the type of environment that's fostered, that, Lizzo even fosters for the people who works for her. And with her having that moon, right, Virgo moon, it's likely that, she can have a lot of women working for her. But the issue is that when the moon is in Virgo, Virgo is also just it can be a very unhappy sign in general, especially when we talk about the moon in Virgo conjoined to Virgo on the South Node. It could very easily translate into having employees that may not be happy with you or how you run things, right? As a Virgo South Node, she has a lot of karma, a lot of karmic debt and baggage tied to the people who work for her. And to put this into more context, another celebrity who has this Virgo South Node placement, who has some really nasty allegations towards them in the arena of workers and employees and whatever, would be P. Diddy. Okay, I don't know if y'all done heard, but he's done some allegedly horrific things to the people who's worked for him in the past. You know what I'm saying? Including making the people from Meeting the Band walk all across Brooklyn and New York to go get him a slice of damn cheesecake. So, y'all go ahead and connect the dots with that as you wish. But I said that to say Virgo can be very, very much, it can make people miserable. Virgo is a naggy, a very just, critical type of energy. And with it on the South Node and conjoined to the moon, I wouldn't want to work for her. I'm going to be real. I don't know any Virgo South Node that I would want to work under. No tea, no shade. No tea, no shade. And that's because sometimes these people can take that energy too far. They could be very anal, retentive, very uptight. And once again, with her having Cancer in the 11th house, maybe utilizing bullying tactics or something like that. Not to mention, she does have Mars in Aquarius in her 6th house, which also deals with, how she treats her employees. And with it squaring her sun in that 9th house of Taurus, that could even reinforce her being like a bullying, kind of having a bullying type of energy towards the people that work for her. Honestly, like a bullying work environment, especially if they don't meet her standards. Taurus is all about the standard. And she does have that Taurus 3-way stellium, Sun, Jupiter, Mercury in the ninth house. So you could look at that as her having a certain type of, once again, standard or expectation, right? That she has, especially when it comes to like musicality, maybe even like traveling on tour and even dance. It's also important to note that the ninth house, as does Jupiter, deal with things that are really high. So where these expectations could be like almost even too high for people to meet them, like to the point where they may be kind of unrealistic. Like, I want y'all to do this, this, and this, and that, and this, and do that. That. And with that sun squaring Mars in the sixth house of Aquarius, she could absolutely be willing to badger people just within the work environment, especially if she feels like they are not meeting that, or where this square could even foster or facilitate just a very seedy work environment, toxic. She does have Aries in the eighth house. So all those things like threatening, intimidation, sometimes even physical intimidation, which once again, no tea, no shade, girl, but I don't know how you let Lizzo punk you. I mean, anybody really as an adult, but Lizzo, you gonna let Lizzo physically bully and antagonize you? I guess. And I think one of the girls said that during a rehearsal, Lizzo took her fist and she balled it up and she was hitting her other hand with the fist. You know how they do in those like super melodramatic movies where they're trying to depict like the stereotypical bully, like, well, yeah, where's your lunch money? Why are you out of? I'm like, and you let her do that? You let this bitch play in your face like that? I don't know. Lizzo is so unserious to me. I just can't picture her beating the brakes off of nobody. And I couldn't picture myself allowing her, the likes of her, or really anybody, but definitely not no damn mighty Lizzo, act like she was finna beat my ass. Like, that's crazy. But, you know, I get it. In these type of dynamics, when there's a power dynamic, right? Employee versus employer, you know, most people are just afraid of their job. And once again, bringing this right back around to this Virgo South node, right? It can be ultra controlling. Like I said, very critical and very indicative of somebody who can run a tight ship, is the best way to put it. Who can run a really tight ship and who could be very nitpicky and notice the smallest things. And this is why the women were saying or alleging that she noticed their weight gain. You know, that's very Virgo South node, especially the moon in Virgo conjoined to the South node, right? Emphasis with all this happening in the first house. So this could be her noticing their weight or being as hyper aware of their weight in their body just as much as she is her own body. And with that moon opposing her Pisces North node, that could deal with there being a lot of shame involved in that. And you could look at it both ways, as people shaming her for her body and her internalizing that with the moon there, but also her shaming other women for their bodies. Okay. And with that Virgo moon squaring her Venus and Chiron in the 10th house of Gemini, that could absolutely, you know, result in these workers coming forward and spilling her tea. Venus in Gemini will tell it all. Okay. And in the 10th house, it will happen on the public stage. Venus conjoined to Chiron, at that Chiron squaring that moon, that could absolutely be indicative of there being some funny business going on behind the scenes, you know, behind closed doors when it comes to her dancers. It just could. And it could also deal with where Lizzo may be somebody who is very inconsistent. And intuitively, I feel this way too. Because with that Cancer 11th house energy in tandem with the moon on the South node of Virgo, she may be a person, once again, who may treat these people, these women, like they were family. But with the square between her Chiron and Venus, she could switch up. You know, it was real inconsistent. She would turn it on or turn it off, or who could almost have that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of mentality or way of being, right? When you're public, you kind of saying one thing, and then when you know, private, you say something else. Or if you're in a good mood and they're doing what you want them to do, you know, one day you treat them like they're your family and that y'all are best friends and, you know, whatever. And even when we talk about the moon in opposition to that Pisces North node, blurring the boundaries, blurring the lines, right, between, you know, what y'all got going on. And then the minute, you know, somebody triggers you, you switch up. You know, Chiron squaring that moon, that's something not right. Something is not right with her. And that could even be mentally, like where something could just not be right with Lizzo. So I'm actually inclined to believe a lot of the allegations just off of this alone. Off of this alone. She also has Mercury in that 9th house of Taurus opposing Pluto, her sun opposing Pluto. One way you could look at this, especially with Pluto in the 3rd house, is people dragging her down, tearing her down, her being on the receiving end of verbal abuse and people dragging her self-esteem into the gutter. But that could also be how she treats other people, y'all. Especially when you consider Mercury rules her south node, the sign on her south node. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, and even intuitively, I don't feel like it's more so from like a physical intimidation standpoint. I feel like she's one of those people who verbally will try to make you feel horrible with this configuration. This could be some really nasty verbal abuse and just having an abusive kind of temperament, you know. She also has another abusive or an aspect I see a lot in the charts of abusers, which is Mars square Pluto. With Mars being in her 6th house of, once again, workers, squaring Pluto, where she can have a very predacious kind of mentality when it comes to, you know, the people around her. And like I said, the people who work for her. And where it could kind of even bleed over into some of those perverted allegations they were saying, like sexual harassment. Mars square Pluto is a sexual harassment aspect all day long. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was interesting as well. And with these multiple oppositions between her sun, her Jupiter, her Mercury, and that Pluto, it could spell out where just as much hate as she receives from other people, she has the potential to be that hateful. She also has Mercury squaring Mars in that 6th house of Aquarius. That could be her being argumentative, once again, verbally badgering the people who work for her. It could be her dancers. I wouldn't be surprised if it were other people who work for her, assistants. Like I said, you know, I mean, you name it. Like, you name it. You insert job title. You know, where she could be someone who could just be real nasty and real defensive or real quick to argue with people or real quick to, you know, attack people or whatever the case may be. Or maybe somebody who's not even really that open to like criticism, even if it's like constructive criticism. Because with Virgo on the south node, especially conjoined to her moon, she'll be in her feelings. She'll take it personally. And in her mind, maybe she's the one who could, you know, who needs to or who should have the right to be doing all the criticizing, right? But when people do it to her, maybe she feels like she's being attacked, that kind of thing. I actually wouldn't be surprised if these women did an interview or wrote a book about their experiences with moon squaring Venus like that in the 10th house of Gemini. Because that does deal with them, once again, going to the public and where these allegations can be very much harmful to her reputation. She also has that Saturn in the 10th house of Gemini opposing her Saturn. So, once again, that could also be like an opposition where one's reputation could be on the line, right? Especially when somebody puts them on blast or some information, especially like issues with the media comes to light. Something hits the media and it threatens your, you know, damages your reputation or whatever the case may be. And where, you know, her PR team, once again, is going to have to work overtime. Hence that Pisces North Node in the 7th house. And then finally, I'll leave y'all with the fact that she does have that Venus and Chiron and Gemini squaring her Pisces North Node as well, which on one hand could deal with her having employees or workers or dealing with just people in general. Yeah, I would say people in general, but yeah, employees and workers, because it's squaring their Virgo South Node too, who could just be in it for like a cash grab or, you know, trying to hit her up for money. It kind of gives that vibe. It kind of gives like scam vibes or, you know, like I'm going to sell stories to the tabloid vibes. It can express like that, but it could also on the contrary, because the door swings both ways in terms of energy. It could be her kind of having that type of temperament about herself where she could be someone who, once again, kind of plays pretend when it comes to the public and got a lot of secrets, you know, to hide, but also someone who could even be kind of funny money, like quite literally. So I don't know if she's had employees who said that like she didn't pay me well or, you know, things like that, right? So yeah, or like just inappropriate touching. Venus and that Chiron and Gemini square in the Pisces North Node. You know, just making people feel uncomfortable. So I mean, honestly, I could see it. I'm not even gonna hold you. I could see it. Like I said, sometimes the energy could swing in the opposite direction as well in terms of a person being victimized by other people. But I just think she has a lot of comprehensive aspects that point towards her being someone who actually, despite the like, ooh, fun, I'm the fun, flirty, confident big girl act that she puts on, she could actually be real, like, nasty. She has the potentiality to be really nasty behind the scenes, you know, or just have a really nasty side to her personality. In this lifetime as a Pisces North Node, technically she's supposed to learn how to be more compassionate towards other people, you know, caring, especially with it in her 7th house. She comes from a lot of past life experiences, being so focused on herself and so insecure and unhappy with herself. It's easy to project things onto other people. So, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this whole situation. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye.